This is our Lunch with the Supe, and this month we are highlighting partnerships and our great partnership with LSU. I've invited Dr. King Alexander, President of LSU, and one of the things he has done is started the sixth grade program. Every year we have about 3,200 sixth graders that he hosts on the LSU campus, and people may say, why sixth grade? Well, he says in middle school they need to start thinking about what their future is going to be. So he's going to come and share his thoughts on our partnership. And it's a really, really good, strong partnership with EBR schools and LSU.
Today we're just connecting with our K-12 leaders, I know our board members in East Baton Rouge Parish. The capital area promise that we're talking about is helping them get more students college ready and beginning as early as middle school, all the way through high school, so that we can actually hold ourselves accountable on how many new students we're able to pull in from our local area, as well as working with our Baton Rouge Community College and Larissa, and we have people over there, and we just want to see our numbers grow and expand by taking advantage of all of our local assets in education.
I think it's very unique because if you started in the sixth grade, you're starting in middle school. And when you start in middle school, you're helping those students begin to think about, what am I going to do after I graduate? I think what's really, really super important is that they don't think of graduating from high school as the end, but they think of it as the beginning. It is the beginning of their future, whether it's a 2-year college, a 4-year college, career in tech, whether it's the military. They need to think of ending high school as the beginning of the rest of their life. And that's what we're trying to instill in students, that you need to have a vision for what your future looks like. And so the president of LSU invites them out there. He walks with them sometimes. He feeds them a meal, and they spend 2/3 of a day out there seeing the different areas on the LSU campus to give them an idea of what their future looks like.
Well, so far, actually, we've seen our numbers grow up, our 2+2 transfers from BRCC, as well as we're doing a careful assessment on our local schools to see how many of that new applicant pool that we're talking about are actually local students from our capital area.
It's really about partnerships, and that's what I want to talk about today, is about partnerships. We have great partnerships. You saw the regions up here earlier. I see Teach for America. You know, we've got Manners of the Heart. ExxonMobil, we have great partners, but the LSU partnership has been very unique to us over the last couple of years. Several years ago, Dr. Alexander called me and said, I want to do something for your students, and he reached out, and I was just sort of amazed at that. And I said, what do you want to do? He said, I want to bring every sixth grader, and he's going to tell you more about this, I don't want to steal his thunder, but every sixth grader to LSU. And I went, for what? Of course, to have a vision of what their future looks like. And this will be next Tuesday, a week from today, will be the 3rd consecutive year that he has welcomed about 3,200 sixth graders to campus, and they will stay there for most of the day, have lunch, walk around. He's going to tell you more about that. So I'm going to stop right there. We have so much going on this time of year. We are in the middle of looking at budgets as well, and I think budgets is a hot topic right now. Our principals of the year have been named the last couple of days, and we'll be sharing that with you. Students of the year is coming up as well. You've probably been hearing a little bit about the tax plan. We have a 1 cent renewal on the ballot April 29th to build the future of Baton Rouge. Over the past 18 years, we have built 18 schools. We've renovated another 35 to 40 schools. And we're now starting to put these 21st century learning environments in. Park Elementary will be a 21st century learning environment. It's being designed right now. Jefferson Home Sites will be the last one in phase 3 of our tax plan that started back in '03, and the community of Baton Rouge, whom we work for, has been very supportive of us over the years. So let me just introduce the president here. Just some partnership with LSU. Over 750 LSU freshmen worked with us in the past year in the LSU Community Bound event. They go to schools, they paint, they tutor, they do all kinds of things with us, and that's a great partnership. I mentioned the LSU 6th grade initiative, the Journey to College initiative, the STEM, CTEC, Career and Technical Education, in which we have a school that's being built and will open in the fall. It's the EBR, Career and Technical Education Center. It's right there on, I think it's Lobdell, right next to the McKay Automotive Center, opening up. I see John Spain here, who had a lot to do with that and was visiting with us here at Lunch with the Supe to tell you about that several months or so ago. Dual enrollment classes, National Math and Science Initiative. We had a national press conference yesterday where the national president of Math and Science Initiative came in at Woodlawn High School. It was fantastic. You may have seen it on TV. And we have many other things that are in the works here. So without further ado, we're honored to welcome President F. King Alexander.
Thank you, Warren, and thank you all. This is a nice crowd, and I think in many ways we share the same common objectives and same common bonds. When I look at the job that we have and the budget fights that we're in, once again, like Groundhog Day it seems, I think back to some even more difficult times. My grandfather his whole life was a superintendent. He was a superintendent and he became deputy superintendent of public schools in the state of Kentucky, where his job in the early 60s and throughout the 60s was to desegregate the white and black schools of the state of Kentucky. And when I think that we have difficult things to do, I think back to all the bomb threats he got in Jefferson County and Louisville, bomb threats all over the state because nobody wanted to close their local school and merge it with others. But the judges made the ruling, a lot of hard decisions were made, and people are now the beneficiaries. Our students that I see on campus are the beneficiaries of what was decided back in the 60s and late 50s by many of the judges and many of the folks that said our students can live, learn, and grow together. And which makes me very pleased to say that despite what you're reading about what came out in the budget yesterday, LSU's never had more applicants in the history of our university. We're up 32%. There's not the only university in the SEC that's close to us is Florida with about 22%. We're up 70% in African American applications, 62% in Hispanic, Latino applications. We're up the largest Pell Grant entering and graduating class that we ever had, first generation graduates last year. We even had the largest South Pacific Islander graduating class in our history last year. We went from 7 to 8, but as long as it sets a record. But we've got a challenge, and I was fortunate enough to be out in San Diego talking to the College Board, and I was speaking with the SUNY president, and the SUNY in New York is the second largest higher education system in the United States, only behind the Cal State University system, both with about 500,000 students. 500,000 students and about 50% first generation Pell students. The challenge that we have, and we're uniquely situated right in our community with Larissa and with BRCC, our community college, and the willingness that they've had with open arms working with our people back and forth with the superintendent. We tell people, and what we discovered in Long Beach is that even though Long Beach was bigger than Detroit, Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Boston, and had more problems than any of them. I mean, 90% of the schools were Title I schools. Compton High School was right in the middle of the district. All of these issues didn't stop the university and the community college and the superintendent from working together. And it wasn't rocket science, it was about talking with each other. And the second point I'll make, it was about there's no blame. We have high schools that blame middle schools. We have middle schools that blame the elementary schools. We have faculty, some faculty that blame the high schools or the community college. Look, these are all our kids. These are all our kids. Our graduation rate does not start at orientation, their freshman year. It starts in preschool and kindergarten. And why would we cast blame around to each other when most of the teachers are our graduates? Most of the administrators are our graduates, are what we do every day. So we must get better. We must get better as a community. 65% of the kids in Louisiana go to college. However, if you take 100 kids in Baton Rouge and you boil it down to see who's graduating, we're probably down to about 24 of those 100. What's happening to the other 3 out of 4? What's happening to these kids? And what are we doing to give them a better environment, a more welcoming environment? That's why we bring all the 6th graders to campus, to spend a day. And all I ask the superintendent to do, you get them here and get them back, and we'll take care of it from there. And you know what's interesting? When I talk to that group, each group, when I see them in our student union, and I'm speaking to this group of, and sometimes it varies from 400 to 500, I ask them, how many of you have been to LSU's campus? And we're all assuming that these kids are in Baton Rouge. They come to campus all the time. Less than half the hands go up in the air. Every time I ask that question, which means we got a lot of work to do to help each and every one of these students feel good about wanting to go to college, staying on their path to go to college, and us doing everything we can to remove the barriers that are keeping them from going to college. And I'm very pleased to have two leaders in this community that get it, that get this, understand this, that work with Brandon and myself and others, and Frank's back there and working with Lehigh, and understanding that these kids don't have a chance. Today, unlike any other time in the history of higher education, our students have to go to some form of college. And I get asked this every now and then, not everybody should go, but everybody should have the option to go. And I call it the Rick Santorum effect, because I'll be in Washington tomorrow, the next couple of days, and I hear this all the time. Somebody will say something, as Rick Santorum did when he's running for president. He says, not everybody needs to go to college. And then they said, well, you have 7 kids, Senator Santorum. How many of your 7 are going to go? He said, every one of them. It's always somebody else's kid that doesn't need to go to college. It's not your own. And that's why I take a look at the Pew study and this other stuff about how there's a large population that they're disgruntled with colleges and universities until it comes to their own kids. And then they need access. And then we've got to work together, our teachers got to work together, our math teachers in high school and the universities, to make sure that they can finish and they have the skills to finish. Sure, we're 65% college continuation rate, and the nation's 62%. But why aren't we 75%? Why don't we set that goal? Why don't we set the goal to get to 75%? And then once a year, the 3 of us stand up to talk about how many more students are coming to us from our BRCC or from the Baton Rouge School District to BRCC or to the university. We can measure this. We can measure this and hold ourselves accountable for doing it. And then invite the business community to join us in this promise. And that's why this Road to College initiative that we have been putting out, we've got a poster that we put out that tells parents and students as early as 6th grade, what courses should they be taking to become college ready? 7th grade, 8th grade. We have a website that directs them to the website. When should they fill out financial aid? That's a great success story that we haven't talked a lot about. We've improved 10% in the financial aid applications. Now we exceed the national average, which we were 10 points below the national average about 5 years ago. Brandon, the Road to College, for anybody that wants to pick any of those up, we want parents to know. And when we spoke at West Angeles in Los Angeles, and when we spoke to some of the lowest income areas in Compton, in the churches, and we had grandparents and parents and uncles and aunts and 4 generations of students and families in there, you know, they just wanted the information. And every one of those parents and grandparents wanted to make sure that their grandchildren had access to some kind of college. And what are we doing to make sure that they're getting the right information, not blaming a school versus that school, but what are we doing to help them go and help them succeed? Part of this challenge is even bigger than the point that I made 65% going. But this country is #1 in the world, in the OECD world, in our 55 to 64-year-old population with college degrees. We're #1 in the world. When it comes to our 25 to 34-year-olds, we've dropped to 13th. And that's declining about every 3 years. We drop another level. And by the year 2020, it's predicted we'll be 19th, falling below Hungary and Bulgaria. So what is our commitment to this next generation? We have a danger that we will leave the next generation with less economic and educational opportunity than any generation that has gone before them. And that's why we have to work together. And it's not rocket science. It's not rocket science as we discovered in Long Beach. Long Beach won the Broad Award. But more importantly, we saw those numbers move, and we held each other accountable to helping them move. I want 300 more students from BRCC. I want 300 more students from our school district next year, and I want us to measure our effectiveness in getting those numbers. I know the state doesn't help us on this. I know the rhetoric that you're going to hear on the budget reductions, the fiscal cliff. We can do this ourselves and build a case for ourselves, of which, through experience, I've seen other districts in this state. Other districts in this state will emulate, and we'll attract all kinds of outside private funding to keep doing or getting better at what we do. So that's what this Road to College, or the Capital Area Promise that we're going to rename it, that's what working together we can make happen. But each and every one of these kids is a responsibility of all of our institutions. We will spend nearly $150,000 on each and every boy and girl in our school district to get them from kindergarten through their senior year in high school. $150,000. And then we're willing to watch them go somewhere else into another state to take the investment with them. Or we're willing to let them fall and not take advantage of that $150,000 economic investment in the human capital talent of the next generation of students. That's why we're working together. And with your support, we're going to continue to do this. And we're going to hold ourselves accountable and develop our own report card to see what we're doing well and where we need to improve on. How many kids are getting access? What areas do we need to address? And we would welcome to come back to you each and every year to show you our progress and to hold us accountable for making these things happen and becoming the state's role model with regard to preschool through graduate education environment right here in Baton Rouge. We got all the tools. We got all the tools. We have a flagship institution, a vibrant community college, a great school system. Now we put this together and set new sights and new objectives. And I encourage you to work with us to do this. And it's not one little thing, it's 100 little things. Yeah, bringing every sixth grader to campus is one thing. It's one thing that can change expectations in a lot of kids. But then we got to stick with it. 7th grade, 8th grade. And I want our preachers, and I want our clergy, and I want everybody that has access to these types of career-changing and educational environments that we can set right here. And I do think the state will certainly look to Baton Rouge as the best kept secret, which we don't want it to be a secret, but it'll be the best educational environment for our community, but more importantly for each and one of our kids. That's what this is all about. That's why I'm here today. That's why our folks are here today. It's not just the College of Education's issue to help us succeed. My job is to make sure all of our faculty know that it's everybody's responsibility. It's our College of Engineering, through STEM, math department, through what we're doing in math. It's everybody's responsibility. We want students who are going to succeed. And we need to improve the numbers that we have in Louisiana, but the best place to do it starts right here. So thank you all very much for allowing me to come out and share this with you. If you want to come out and see a campus full of 6th graders, come out next Tuesday. I call them our pre-college students. And they may not be students now, but they're our pre-college students. And I do think LSU, unlike any other institution in the state, has the responsibility and capacity to make change in this area. What most people don't realize is LSU is in charge of the ag centers. We have another 200,000 4-H pre-college students that are in our programs. And that's all over the state in every parish of the state. So I think with your help, we can set a standard that everybody else would like to emulate and follow. And I look forward to working with each and every one of you and for coming out today. Thank you very much. Our graduation rate doesn't start at orientation or at freshman year. It starts in preschool and kindergarten. And that we're partners in this process, and we want to help them succeed, and get better each and every year. And as we build a much larger than 65% college going rate, we'd love to see it in this area be 75 or even 80%.
We have been extremely excited about this partnership. About 40 to 45% of our students also share the TOPS program, which I know in the current governor's budget is being cut dramatically. So we hope that doesn't happen. But if it does, I understand the budget cuts. If it does, we're going to continue to help these students envision their future through LSU or Southern University or any other college or around this area, because I think the future is bright for them.
If people have questions like more information about East Baton Rouge Parish Schools, what should they do?
EBRschools.org. They can call us at 225-922-5400. They can get in touch with Taylor Gast, our new public information officer, or Gwen Shamlin, who works in the public relations office.